Next up on 25 News today, the genesis of history unfolding in Miami. Former President Trump expected to surrender to federal agents.
Plus, a new decision to get luxury housing to the Twin Cities, where you could soon call home.
And still ahead, mining for gold. For the first time in nearly 50 seasons, the Denver Nuggets are your NBA champs. We're going to look at the highlights as 25 News Today continues.
From your home team, this is 25 News Today.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to our final half hour of 25 News Today. I'm Jessica Cook.
And I'm John Schoenheider. Jess, did you get a chance to watch any of the game?
I did watch a little bit last night and then, had to fall asleep.
Of course, of course. I was looking at some of the highlights a little earlier today, and what a series. What a series.
Yeah, it certainly was a pretty intense game last night, especially toward the end, from what I've been hearing.
Yes, definitely. I want to sit back and watch a little bit more than I've seen so far, but I mean, the whole series has been pretty intense, and Joe, I know you've been following it, of course, very closely. So what were your thoughts on last night's game?
Not going there. Here's a look from the Peoria Heights camera. We're looking towards a cloudy sky here. I'm a Heat fan. So here we go. We've got cloudy skies and what are temperatures that are significantly warmer than yesterday. We were in the 40s at this time yesterday. Now we find ourselves in the low 60s. So it is a more comfortable start to the day. Sun filtering through in many spots. On the flip side of things, you do notice, especially north of 74, here's 74 right here on your map. If you go north of there, you can find some isolated to scattered showers, depending on where you're at. Streeter, perhaps further south into western Livingston County, and even portions here of eastern Woodford County. We've seen showers off and on over the past few hours, and those shower chances will likely continue for us as we roll through the day today. So, best chance for showers north of 74 this morning into this afternoon. Because of that, temperatures likely coming in a little bit cooler. We'll go with temps in the upper 70s the further north that you go in the viewing area. 74 and south, that would include Bloomington and the Peoria metro areas. We'll go with the low 80s for highs, with what will be less in the way of shower chances. A fairly dry day ahead, but will also be a little bit more on the windy side of things for our areas. Gusts up to about 25 or 30 miles per hour. So all in all, not so bad anywhere across the area today. Just a slightly different weather scenario, depending if you're further north or further south. John and Jess.
All right, thanks, Joe. We're going to start things this half hour with ongoing searches happening in our area to find some missing people.
The Peoria County Sheriff asking for your help finding a 55-year-old man. Chris Watkins says Eric King drives a 2007 Honda Element with South Dakota license plates, and the sheriff adds he has a yellow student driver bumper sticker. He's 5 foot 6 inches tall, about 200 pounds. If you have any information on his whereabouts, call Detective Hoffman at 657-5532.
And the Peoria Police Department still needs your help finding this missing man, Logan Dunn, who was last seen on East Glen Oak Avenue June 2nd. He's 32 years old. He's white and about 5 foot 10 inches tall, around 170 pounds. Dunn has brown hair and eyes, was last seen wearing a blue T-shirt and jeans. So if you know anything or have any information, you can call the Peoria Police Department at 673-4521.
A toddler in Michigan dies after an accidental shooting on Monday. Authorities say it happened around 6 at night when a 2-year-old gained access to an unsecured gun. Now, the child was taken to a hospital where they died. The father of the child is a veteran Dearborn police officer. So far, no charges in this case, but police are still investigating.
2 people are hurt here at home after a double shooting this weekend in Peoria. Police say they got 2 shot spotter alerts, one of 13 rounds and the second of 9 fired on West Virginia just before 1 Sunday morning. While on the way, police were flagged down by a group of women who said a man was shot in the leg and was being taken to the hospital. A short time later, police later learned a second man was being taken by private vehicle. No suspects were found. There's no info about suspects either, but anyone with information can call Peoria Police.
A couple hours later, officers were called to Main Street on a report of a large crowd and multiple fights. While officers were trying to disperse the crowd, shots were fired on Hamilton Boulevard. This all happening in the downtown part of the city. A crime scene was found, but there were no victims. Police found out a short time later that there was a man and a woman who arrived at a hospital by private vehicle. They have non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. Police are still investigating, and there's no suspect information that we're aware of.
Well, breaking into our newsroom now, the death toll on the rise. We now know at least 10 people are dead and 28 hurt after missiles hit buildings in an overnight attack in the central city of Kryvyi Rih, Ukraine. The governor says the strike hit a 5-story residential building and the area went up in flames. You can see the aftermath in this video here. Firefighters working to put out that fire. A search underway as one person is believed to be trapped under the rubble. This is the hometown of Ukrainian President Zelensky. We will continue to update you as we learn more information about this incident. Jess?
Thank you, Paige. Time now is 6:36, and back here at home, 2 firefighters taken to the hospital after a weekend fire in Spring Valley. These pictures are from the Spring Valley Fire Department's Facebook page. Crews got a call. 3 homes were involved Saturday, and people might be trapped. Well, everyone did end up getting out okay. 2 firefighters taken to the hospital, though. One for burns, the other for heat exhaustion. Both have been released. No word on what caused that fire.
And a Peoria home will be demolished after a Monday morning house fire, that breaking out just before 9 on Fairholme Avenue. There, firefighters found heavy fire and smoke coming from the home. It was all under control within about 15 minutes, though. One person inside the home when it started and was treated and released by AMT. The cause of that fire right now is unknown.
Arson is believed to have caused a Monday afternoon fire in the River City's East Bluff neighborhood. Now, the battalion chief, Brian Calhoun, says it happened around 1 on North Indiana. And who determined it was arson? None other than Molly the fire dog. When first responders got there, they saw smoke coming from the 2nd floor. Firefighters found heavy flames inside. The stairwell was burnt out. The home was vacant. Damage is about $60,000, and no one was hurt.
Always glad to hear when no one is hurt there. After the break, a live report from Miami as President Trump faces federal charges.
How security efforts are ramping up ahead of today's hearing. Time now is 6:37.
You're watching 25 News Today with Jessica Cook, John Schoenheider, and meteorologist Joe Struess. 25 News is your home team.
It's 6:41 on your Tuesday morning. The city of Miami bracing for large crowds at its federal courthouse later today. Supporters of former President Trump expected for Trump's arraignment and his rivals weighing in on the historic moment. Chris Christie appearing on CNN Town Hall after his presidential announcement, and he delivered a harsh message for the upcoming indictment. Let's take a listen.
It is a very tight, very detailed, evidence-laden indictment, and the conduct in there is awful. I mean, put aside taking the documents in the first place, but then when you start getting asked, Anderson, in May of 21, nicely, with a letter from the archivist saying, could you please give them back? And you ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. Then they come with a grand jury subpoena, and then according to the indictment, you tell your lawyers, tell them we don't have anything, even though you have dozens and dozens of boxes of material. That's obstruction of justice if it's true.
Meanwhile, on Fox News, GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley calling the former president's actions, quote, incredibly reckless.
So the question becomes, how will this impact the former president's candidacy for the race next year? We're joined again live by 25 News correspondent Peter Zampa. And Peter, walk us through the arraignment process and what exactly is expected to happen here in court in just a couple of hours.
Yeah, good morning again. We don't exactly know what it's going to look like today. We do know he will be processed in this courtroom. As far as arrival goes, there are rumors that they want to do it so that he's obscured the entire time, so that his motorcade goes underground and then he just pops up to the 13th floor. Others are suggesting he may want to do his signature fist pump or wave to the crowd, wave to his supporters that are expecting to amass later today. But beyond that, we don't expect any fingerprints. We don't expect mug shots. We don't expect him to need to post bond. But he will need to be arraigned, and he will need to go before a magistrate judge to give his plea. We expect it to be not guilty. We don't expect the indictment necessarily to be read in full. It's a long indictment full of a lot of alleged facts that, frankly, the president probably doesn't want to hear again. And then he'll be out of here, and he will be out not on bond, but likely on his own recognizance, and he will head up to New Jersey, Bedminster, where he'll address his supporters.
Now, Peter, we know he's facing 37 charges. Behind you, we can see a couple of people, but talk to us a little bit about if things have changed as far as more people arriving outside the courthouse.
Yep, so as we're getting more daylight, we're getting a lot more media. We're seeing the line of folks who are trying to get into this courtroom grow even more. And now we spoke about this earlier, but yesterday we found out only 20 people allowed inside this courtroom today. That includes media and the general public. So as soon as that order came out, folks started lining up, hoping to be the ones inside the courtroom today. There will be an overflow room, but no cameras allowed inside today. We're not going to get a live feed of any proceedings. We will get an expedited transcript, they say, but the general public won't know what goes on in person for the most part. So that's why these folks are all lining up outside. A lot of spot savers here, I should say, a lot of people for hire for some of these media organizations hoping to be inside the room.
All right, Peter, thank you so much for joining us live from outside the courtroom in Miami, Florida. Well, NBC News providing a special report of the arraignment, which will be anchored by Lester Holt from Miami. That special coverage coming up later this afternoon, right on 25 News at noon. John, back to you.
All right, thanks, Jess, for that. When we come back in a few moments here, Joe is going to be tracking a couple of showers in our area, but will it affect you? We'll find out. Plus, a sneak peek into a new documentary about a very special father-daughter project, 16 years in the making.
Welcome back on a very good Tuesday morning. We'll start here with a live look. This is actually our Skywatch Network camera from Peoria Heights looking far into the distance towards the Peoria skyline. And one of the reasons I wanted to zoom in a little bit this morning is you can see how the camera moving a little bit. And our cameras definitely start to depict the wind a little bit better the further that you zoom in. So you get the idea that it's a little bit more on the breezy side of things with some high clouds out there. Temps significantly warmer than yesterday. We were in the 40s yesterday. In fact, we didn't get to the low 60s until about 9:30 yesterday. So we're talking about a much more comfortable start to the day. Cloudy skies in place over McLean County, more of the same, upper 50s, low 60s from a temperature perspective. Right now, most of the area running pretty dry. We are still tracking some showers. These have been off and on over the past couple of hours. More defined rain setting up just to the northeast of our viewing area. You notice here in the southwest suburbs of Chicagoland, towards Joliet and even further south and west of there, I-80 north in LaSalle County. You can see north of I-80, north of Ottawa, you can see some more rain setting up. But in large part, the heaviest rain has set up northeast of our viewing area. We'll still, though, look for some of these showers off and on to roll through. We've seen some of those here on the loop already this morning. And so I think if you live north of I-74, a good idea to maybe keep that umbrella handy for today. Our storm system that is sort of sitting right over the state of Michigan, pinwheeling some of this moisture around it, and with that, some breezy northwest winds today, and what will be some additional shower chances with time. It's an interesting weather setup today. If you live along and south of I-74, you probably can just put the cloudy icon on the hourly planner. You live north of the interstate, that's why we've got the raindrops on. So there are kind of a diverse weather setup depending on where you're at today. Here's the hourly look at things. We'll stop here right at lunchtime, noticing further south you go from I-74, more sunshine breaking through. Our temperatures will end up a little bit warmer in these areas. More clouds, better chance for isolated to scattered showers. The further northeast you go, so with that slightly cooler temperatures, and we can show you that range here on our forecast highs. Upper 70s, places like Lake Ann, Pontiac, Peru, low to mid 80s, Peoria, say Canton, and into Havana. So it just depends on where you're at today. The other item we're watching, some increased winds, especially the further south that you go. So we'll go ahead and pause the wind speeds here around 3 o'clock this afternoon. More clouds, couple showers to the north. Winds not as breezy. South and east, gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour or so. So kind of an interesting setup today where it really depends on where you're at. The next couple of days, some more uniform warming together into the mid-80s tomorrow. Low 90s Thursday, that looks to be the hottest day through this upcoming weekend. 88 Friday, mid-80s for the weekend with some storm chances back in play. We'll take one final check of that full 10-day forecast here before we say goodbye in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Joe. Good morning, America, and the Today Show coming up in about 9 minutes. But first, let's head over to John, who has this morning's top stories.
Thanks, Jess. Amtrak travel between Chicago and St. Louis is about to get 15 minutes quicker. That's all thanks to a high-speed rail project that lets trains reach speeds of over 100 miles per hour. And good news for local residents, too. The Bloomington stop is on the way. The new speed set to start on the 26th. In addition to increasing speeds, the nearly $2 billion project also has safety improvements. That's at 212 grade crossings. Funding for the project includes over $1.5 billion in federal funding and $300 million in state and non-federal funds, too.
Sticking with the Twin Cities, City Council narrowly approving a multi-million-dollar housing development in the heart of downtown Bloomington. In a 5-3 vote, Council decided to build an $18 million luxury housing development blocks away from the McLean County Government Center. Some of the price tag will be covered by the city of Bloomington, though. The Coachman Hotel is what used to be there. It's been vacant for years. A vacant lot, that is. Controversy came from union workers Monday, wanting a commitment from the developer to hire local workers and pay regular wages. The developer, Catalyst Construction, said paying wages would make the project too much, and people were divided on whether it was better to have that spot developed no matter what or force the developer to make concessions with the city. One councilman tried to amend the contract to require prevailing wages. The motion failed. The development will house multiple luxury apartments, and council does admit they need to create more housing for all levels of income. It is about halfway through Pride Month, and one of the area's larger LGBTQ+ organizations is now expanding to a new building. Central Illinois Friends just closed on this 4,000 square foot building on East War Memorial Drive, right by the McCluggage Bridge. It's going to offer medical and counseling services and function as a safe haven for the LGBTQ+ community. It took them more than a year and a half to secure this spot, and right now they're planning to do some construction and redecorating. Executive Director Derek Kimler anticipates the new facility will offer some services by the fall. The current location on Glen Oak Avenue will still be open to provide health screenings.
If you're a parent, you can definitely relate to this here. Grabbing your smartphone to capture the many moments of your child's life, including their birthdays, any big occasions. Well, filmmaker Jay Rosenblatt decided to memorialize this annual ritual using his actual camera with his daughter Ella from age 2 to 18 and turned this special 16-year keepsake into an HBO documentary that was just nominated for an Academy Award.
What do you think it means? What does power mean?
Power means, I don't know. Feel my muscles.
Power is being yourself. That takes a lot of power.
Talking about learning and growing there. Tune in today this morning as Rosenblatt and his daughter Ella are live sharing what it was like to work together on such a personal project that now the whole world is about to see. Alrighty, Denver crowds are pretty happy this morning, needless to say, after the Nuggets beat the Miami Heat in Game 5, winning their first NBA championship ever.
Last night's win was certainly historic, led by the center from Serbia and two-time league MVP. The Nuggets were unstoppable. He scored 19 of his 28 points in the second half to put away the Miami Heat and earned the Finals MVP honors. Denver, the #1 seed in the West, cruised to the Finals. The Heat defied overwhelming odds just to make it this far, becoming only the second 8th seed to ever reach the Finals.
But their quest for history was no match for Denver's dominance. For the first time in nearly 50 seasons, nobody in the NBA shines brighter than the Nuggets this morning, no doubt about it. Jim Matson's going to have those highlights a little later today. And, of course, on everything we talked about today, more on these stories at 25newsnow.com and our free app. Joe, how's it looking?
You know, I'd say our forecast is looking pretty good, It's just going to depend on where you're at today. So right now we're in the upper 50s, low 60s. So you notice the range here. If you're south of 74, places like Twin Cities, further south towards Savannah, probably a little bit more in the way of sunshine today. Further north, you go to a better chance for some showers. Next couple of days, we'll dry things out. It'll heat up, so low 90s by Thursday, and then some storm chances back for the weekend. So it really just depends on where you're at today.
There you go.
Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you at 9.